This is ChangeMakers with Katie Goar, finding the right solutions for the affordable housing community.
Our changemaker this week is Gavin Naples. Gavin is a senior vice president of the Homeless Veterans Program at the Tunnels to Tower Foundation, where he leads nationwide efforts to provide permanent supportive housing for veterans throughout veterans villages and case management services. Drawing on his background as a real estate attorney and licensed broker, Gavin combines his legal expertise with his life experience with a passion to help thousands of veterans and their families find stability and community. Gavin, welcome to the Changemakers podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Katie. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's an honor to have you here. And we've talked about veterans issues and housing instability for many times. However, you guys are going to bring such a unique inclusion here. And I think that our listeners are going to be very excited to hear what you guys are doing in the veterans space, the community space, and helping solve this affordability issue. So with that, I'd like to start the segment by first talking about really the roots of Tunnels to Towers program, because not everybody's familiar. So if we can just start there with your organization, I think that would be helpful for context. And then we can talk about more of the programs and the success you guys are having. So Gavin, do you mind starting from that first point?
Sure. So the Tunnel to Towers Foundation began in the wake of the 9/11 terrorist attacks on New York City. Our namesake, Stephen Siller, was a Brooklyn firefighter who was off duty the morning of September 11th. He had just finished his shift on Squad 1. He was going to play golf with his three brothers, and he heard over his radio that the plane had hit the first tower. And so he called his brothers and said, "I'm not going to make the tea time." He turned his car around and he drove it to the base of the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, which connects Lower Brooklyn and Lower Manhattan. It was closed to vehicular traffic that day because of obviously what had occurred. So he got out of his car, he put 60 pounds of gear on his back, and he ran through the underground tunnel nearly 4 miles into the South Tower, up the stairs, and his body was never recovered that day. He died saving others. So from that sacrifice, Stephen was an orphan himself at a very early age. He also had 5 children of his own, and he sacrificed his life for our country. So his brothers and sisters got around a kitchen table and said that we need to honor what he did for our country, and they started the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. From that kitchen table, about 25 years later, we're now a $500 million a year organization that gives 93 cents of every single dollar away to our programs. One of the highest rated charities in the nation for transparency and accountability. And over the last 25 years, we have provided over 2,000 mortgage-free homes to catastrophically injured service members, the families of fallen first responders, which are police officers, firefighters, and EMT workers that get killed in the line of duty, as well as Gold Star widows, who's veterans that die and leave behind small children, all over the nation. Our newest program, which I head, is our Homeless Veteran Program, which seeks to eradicate homelessness amongst veterans nationwide.
So let's talk about eradicate homeless veterans. The mere fact that we have homeless veterans is heartbreaking. And there are a lot of studies that point to 30,000, 33,000 on the books, but many people say that it in actuality is about double that. And I know it's hard to break apart the why, but the scope of this seems very daunting, that this is even part of the landscape here. What is it that you're seeing is most effective to try to address some of that, and even understand it for people who are not familiar with this, that it's happening? I mean, some people don't even know it's happening technically.
Yeah, obviously a very complicated question, so I'm going to give you a little bit of a long answer. But I will start by saying that the trend is moving in generally the right direction, in that now 20 years ago, there's about 250,000 veterans that were experiencing chronic homelessness. The estimates now are around 35,000, 38,000, 40,000. The numbers vary, but that is for chronically homeless individuals. So if you're sleeping in your car for 4 weeks, you're not chronically homeless. If you just got divorced or just lost your apartment or just got evicted or just got foreclosed upon, you are not chronically homeless. So there are a lot of people that are actually homeless, a lot of veterans that are actually homeless that are not captured in that actual number. So yes, the numbers of people on the ground, it is actually much higher. You are correct. But, obviously a tall order to eradicate homelessness amongst veterans. But what we've done in a very tight time frame is basically developed a three-pronged model to address this. The first is our veterans villages. What we are doing is going throughout the nation to the large metro areas where the rates of veteran homelessness are highest, and we are either acquiring dilapidated hospitality properties, underperforming hotels and nursing homes, things like that, and gut renovating them or demolishing them and building long-term supportive housing units for veterans at those locations. We also do ground-up construction to basically build the same thing, a campus of long-term supportive housing. If you are a veteran that's struggling with homelessness right now, there are places to lay your head. You go to a shelter, there's transitional programs, but they're what you'd expect. They're also finite in nature in that they're attached to governmental funding. And if you're in a transitional program, you'll be there for 6 months or 9 months or 12 months. It runs out. You have to go somewhere else. You have to go somewhere else. You have to go somewhere else. So we are positioning ourselves as the long-term supportive housing providers in that our veterans that come to live at our veterans village can stay there until the day they die.
Okay.
Our objective is to have them reintegrate and move in and, reconnect with their families, go on to buy homes, go on to, furnish their own apartments and get entrepreneurial career paths. But if it's a veteran's last stop and they need a place of comfort and dignity to live, they can live at our veterans village for as long as they want. But it's not enough to just provide the housing.
Mm-hmm.
So what we provide at each of our veterans village on the first floor is a litany of supportive services that are aimed at addressing root causes of veteran homelessness. So 24/7, we have peer support, we have case management, we have entitlement support, we have employment support, we have legal advocates, we have behavioral health support, we have case management. We have a litany of other organizations that come in and assist us outside of those meat and potatoes functions, which I just listed, that are provided by Tunnel to Towers employees. So you really have to address those root causes.
Mm-hmm.
But we have about 20 projects right now in active stages of development, pre-development, from Buffalo down to Florida, west to California, 2 in Puerto Rico. We'll build hundreds of veterans villages by the time we're done. That is really our first approach and our triage approach to address brick and mortar, where the need is greatest. But outside of these large metros, you have 80% of America. So the second prong of our program is our National Case Management Network. And that is anywhere in the nation where a veteran or their family is struggling with homelessness or about to backslide into homelessness, they can call our foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And we have an internal team of case managers and housing coordinators, intake, admin, employment, entitlements, behavioral health, that onboard these veterans and their families. We provide them financial assistance immediately to get them housed in their area. If it's a family of 3 sleeping in a van in North Dakota, or someone that just got divorced in Florida, or someone who just got evicted in California, we can get them housing in their area, pay the cost to get them in, allow them to take a deep breath because now they have a roof over their head. And then we will work with the VA and their coordinated entry point in their area to allow them to sustain that housing. And then we work with over 1,200 providers across the nation to provide that case management, that entitlements assistance, that employment assistance. If you need an attorney in North Carolina or you need a job in California, whatever it is, we work with this interconnected web of organizations that are in the same space of helping veterans so that we can quarterback all these different cases, but have the boots on the ground that can be deployed immediately and actually help. The third prong of our program, we work directly with HUD-VASH and Department of the VA and the Department of Housing and Urban Development to provide financial assistance for veterans that currently have HUD-VASH vouchers but need to move in rapidly. Just shy of 3 years, we provided housing assistance and access to services to over 15,000 veterans and over 8,000 children. That number is going to grow exponentially as we grow our case management network, as we bring more of our veterans villages online and strengthen our relationships state, federally, and locally. I could go on for 8 hours. I'm not going to, but that's really the breakdown of how we're trying to address this large problem. Is, again, triage the areas of greatest need and then cast a national blanket for any veteran and their family to call us and avail themselves of our assistance.
Mhm. I think about the legacy by how you guys got started when you first were describing it, and it's such a traumatic incident for the entire nation, and especially for the first responders that you're not really trained for something of that extreme. And then I think about the parallel of the veteran who now could be suffering with, TBRI, traumatic brain injury, or integration, and they're confronted with a different dynamic once they've returned home. Again, maybe not always trained for that type of an incident. And something that you said, allowing them to catch their breath. It seems like it's a moment that would be difficult if all things had been normalized, right? An eviction, a divorce, a job loss, any of those sort of traumatic life experiences that are happening impacts everybody in such an extreme way. But now you have a veteran who may have complicating things from a TBRI or from a life experience or from a training, whatever the details are here. And so you're not just providing the house, you're not just providing potentially access to an affordable property for them to live in, but you really are creating this moment that they may not have been trained for, to handle an eviction, to handle this divorce, and to catch their breath. So that is how my mind is thinking when I parallel, what they're confronted with. But how are you seeing these case management experiences making impact and truly allowing them to catch their breath? I guess that's a long question, but we've got programs, we've got services, now we have a house. So how does this look now when they can catch their breath?
Sure. It really is a case by case basis, and it's so much and it's so comprehensive that it's overwhelming, right? Veterans, by and large, unfortunately, are a little disillusioned with the service they receive from the VA sometimes,
Okay.
but they need it.
Mm-hmm.
And navigating that system can be very challenging for someone that's, obviously, um, for lack of a better term, normal and high
Yeah.
function. For someone that has a TBI or PTSD or struggling with financial issues or struggling with family issues, that's the last thing you want to deal with, right? So having that advocate, which is really what we are, we're advocates, to be able to assist through that component of getting your VA benefits, getting your governmental benefits, getting the benefits that are afforded to you based on your veteran service,
Mm-hmm.
compounded with high quality housing. Our standard is if that you and I wouldn't live there, we're not going to impose it on someone else. It really reinstills that dignity and that honor. A lot of the times, veterans enter the military to escape a bad situation,
Mm-hmm.
and their military career is the height of their
Hmm.
life. And then it's all one, all for one for all. And then once they exit the service, it's really every man for themselves. So that disillusionment that occurs post-service is very jarring.
Yeah.
So we want to reinstill that dignity. But as to your question about the case management, it is a case-by-case basis, and trying to, you talk about affordable housing. It's not just a veteran issue; it's an American issue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
People affordable housing.
Yeah.
Rents are going up. How home buying is now infeasible
Yeah.
for most of America. It's an American issue. So we provide that affordable housing, so that veterans can get back on their feet. They can, they have skin in the game. They pay program fees monthly. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a free ride. It's not a handout. This is
Yep.
definitely a hand up. But it's a case by case basis as to what they need. If it's a financial issue, a lot of people are just bad with finances. Veteran, American civilian, bad with finances. It's an employment issue, an entitlements issue, a legal issue. We work to help that and be an advocate for what they need to be able to support. And then the best part of it, really, Katie, and what we've been having a lot of grand openings, so I've been fortunate enough and blessed enough to thank the people that I'm about to. But the surrounding community
Mm-hmm.
has been the support that has been generated by them has been so overwhelming. That is really the cherry on top of the sundae. To make veterans feel that they are a part of the community and that they're reintegrating back into that community. We have people that come and bake Thanksgiving turkeys and Christmas cookies and Valentine's Day cards and knit us quilts, and they come and they give our veterans pet therapy and art therapy and music therapy. They come and they play checkers and they take fishing trips, and they get involved. So our veterans villages are really conduits for other organizations and civilians in the community, members at large, to get involved. A lot of people want to help, they just don't know how. And that camaraderie is something that's lost post-service, and that's what we're trying to reinstill.
Where was the first veteran village, and how many were you able to provide, I suppose, as a proof of concept, right?
Sure. So the first village that Tunnel to Towers is owned and operated is our Houston Veterans Village.
Okay.
It's in Northwest Tomball. It was a former hotel that we got renovated and transformed into 131 units for veterans. That opened in late 2023. And it took us about 8 to 10 months to renovate that. So after we bought it, it was, quite, and we gutted it down to the studs. So it was quite the transformation that occurred very rapidly. And just last week, we opened phase 2 of that campus, which provided 14 comfort homes, 500 square foot units that sit on concrete pads, hooked up to utilities, that we dedicate to our older class of veterans trained here at Vietnam War our veterans can have a little bit more trouble reintegrating, but looking for a permanent place to call home. We opened that phase 2 last week of 14 homes around that campus.
Excellent.
We have about half of our projects have that comfort home village.
Excellent. So where is your next veterans village going to be?
So on Tuesday, we're going to be opening up our Atlanta Veterans Village that will provide 88 units of permanent housing in the Atlanta area.
Excellent. And if you, is this like the field of dreams? You build it and they come. What's the wait list like? Tell us a little bit about how fast you can access them and get them and fill them and so forth. What's the dynamics there?
Sure. So we have multiple avenues in which people reach out to us. We work directly with the Department of the VA as well, but we're not. It's not a contingent arrangement there. We're just sort of happy partners, but we're not dependent on their funding. So we work very closely with them to vet and screen eligible candidates. But we also have a robust marketing and arm that we utilize privately to get veterans to apply organically. So it will get leased up very quickly. But there are more than 88 veterans that are struggling in Atlanta. And there are families that are struggling in Atlanta that are not going to fit into our single room occupancy units. So that's really where our national case management network comes in. That's that national blanket. So if a family of 5 in Atlanta is struggling with homelessness, they're not going to fit at the village. We have the ability to help them. And one of the things that you touched on before is, eviction processes, foreclosure processes. That is something that we do that a lot of organizations don't do. We want to stop the bleeding. So if you're about to be evicted or about to be foreclosed upon and you go for assistance, federal government would tell you, well, you're not chronically homeless. So come back in 6 months when you are. It's kind of back. So we will step in and pay those costs to make sure that you stay in your house. So we're stopping the bleeding, and we can really address that 35,000 number now.
Yeah. And we've been talking with the assumption that the homeless veteran is one individual, but you bring up a case here about that is not always the statistics or the dynamics that there are. I was reading several statistics showing the number of homeless veterans with children right now. So it sounds like you're building a product to recognize that as well. What is the need there, and what are you guys predicting in that serving the veteran plus their kids?
Sure. It is a tremendous problem and something that's very overlooked. Veterans that are struggling with homelessness that have children, those children are silent victims, and they're never heard about or talked about. It's always the veteran.
Yeah.
So our platform allows us to provide housing in 2, 3, 4, 5 bedroom apartments, houses all over the nation that we can pay the cost to get these veterans and their families housed in. And then we set up a sustainability plan so that they can afford it going forward, right? We'll help them increase their entitlements. We'll help them gain entrepreneurial career paths, and we'll help them balance that budget and understand that financial literacy component so that they could sustain it. And then if mom or dad need help with behavioral health or a legal issue or PTSD or an addiction issue, we assist with that. But as I said, since we started, over 8,000 children we've been able to assist with this program. That is the most gratifying for me personally, because again, innocent collateral damage of this issue,
Yeah.
but we're addressing that problem as well.
Right. And I even can think of probably some scenarios where there's been custody issues related to the homelessness. And so you're just compounding the social and the heart complications here if you've got custody related to their housing. And so just being able to stabilize that and have them come into a place and regain that dignity with their own kids. So, I mean, very, very crucial steps that goes beyond the roof over their head, right?
Absolutely. There's so many issues in certain cases that you can do nothing but stand still, and then no action occurs
Yeah.
as the veteran, right?
Yeah.
So as advocates, we come in and we really try to triage what is the most pressing need. Let's address that,
Yeah.
and then work backwards to get them back on, the right path.
Right. Right. So we talked about VA earlier, and we do a lot of work with VASH vouchers, trying to make sure they're fully utilized with our clients who are housing authorities. So we've been in this space for quite a while, and there's some beauty and there's some frustration there. Uh, it is a process, and there are rules, but we don't have vouchers. These VASH vouchers, we don't have them just sitting there not used. Like the utilization of those vouchers is so important. And even just in the last couple of weeks here, we had a couple of our clients get new VASH vouchers, which was amazing for us. Is there anything in the policy realm or in the VASH realm that you guys see you really wish would be different, or you really wish the disconnect, the log jam could be reconfigured better?
Yeah, sure. So I'll preface this by saying that the federal government has a tremendous job to do, right? And they do help a tremendous amount of people, but with such a high amount, there's gaps that exist, right? And that's where public-private partnerships come in so significantly. So we've tried to identify a lot of those gaps, and we plug a lot of those gaps. And there's a lot of other organizations that do. And so the federal government, the state government, Tunnel to Towers, 20,000 nonprofits working together towards the same common goal of sharing resources, information, best practices, financial resources, working towards the same common goal. That's how we will get to this functional zero. As to the VASH issue, yes, there are components there, which I believe the federal government, and we've been in discussions with HUD and VA on this as well. I think they're working on it. There's money there for vouchers. It's the administration of the case management that needs to accompany that money.
Yeah.
That is not there. So in California, you have 11,000 veterans struggling with homelessness. The number's higher, right? But there's only 4,000 vouchers. There's vouchers sitting there that they don't have the case management to be able to implement them. So I believe they're working on that now. But we don't have the time to wait for policy changes or for things, at the federal level to change. We do what we can in the interim, and we have a platform where we can help anybody that calls us.
And that's the beauty of not trying to expect government to solve it all, but to allow true public-private partnership to fill in the gaps, pick up the ball when the ball's been dropped. And that's what you guys are doing so well. One of the things as I was preparing to talk with you, I pulled up a map that was an interactive map, and it showed which states had the highest percentages of veterans, homelessness, and it was a kind of an eye opening view here. It was like New York, California. You had certain areas. So when you guys go and do, pick where you're going to go for your veteran villages, do you guys look for highest concentration, or do you look for where is it somebody who can help us get this job done regardless of concentration? Like, what's the decision making when you go to build your next veteran village? I'm just curious here.
Sure. So I do have, an extensive acquisition criteria that I implement for where we go next. But you will find patterns,
Mm-hmm.
homelessness in general, and veteran homelessness. The Sun Belt is really, a
Yep.
lot where
Yep.
where the concentration exists. So we do look at highest rates
Mhm.
where veterans are struggling. And we like to be close to VA hospitals. We don't like to
Okay.
be out in the boondocks. We don't like to
Yeah.
be in industrial areas. So the hotel renovation, which is basically an adaptive reuse strategy that we're implementing, it's almost always perfect
Mhm.
because you can walk to a grocery store, you can walk
Right.
to a bank, you can walk to an employment opportunity. We provide privately funded daily transportation as well, just because that's Tunnel to Towers.
Mhm.
But we don't want to be too far out to where veterans don't feel like they're part of the community,
Mhm.
also that they're barriers to where they can't get where they need to go. So we do have multiple projects that we're working on in Florida, multiple projects that we're working on in Georgia, in Texas, in California, but then obviously a lot of other states, uh, Buffalo, New York, New Jersey, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida. We'll be in. We'll basically be in all 50 states in a few years.
Mhm. So, is there any other part of the model that you envision evolving as you look forward to keep this momentum and keep growing? Any other attributes that if you were dreaming about that you could do, what would those be?
That's a good question. Uh, you know, what we, buying something and renovating it or building something is straightforward enough,
Mhm.
right? The qualitative is where the real challenging part comes in. Really changing and helping someone change their own life.
Mhm.
That is what we're really focusing on. And we want to make sure that with the amount of work that we're doing and the amount of villages that we're going to bring online, that we're not sacrificing quality.
Yeah.
Okay. And that is consistent, and that our veterans have the same experience in Buffalo as they do in Florida, as they
Yeah.
do in Texas. So that's something that we're really striving to maintain. But as we bring more and more online and we learn, we will always be adapting, because
Mhm.
that's the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. But we want to put ourselves out of a job, basically.
Mhm.
We want to get to a point where none of these veterans villages are necessary,
Yeah.
because our veterans can go on and again reconnect with their families, go on and
Mhm.
get jobs, go on and buy homes, go on and go out into the community. So that's in an ideal world, I do want to get to that functional zero, and I want to make
Mhm.
sure that none of our veterans villages have any veterans in them,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. My father was a Vietnam vet, and I remember when I was younger growing up, there were things you just didn't do in the household to try to work around some of the issues that he had. But now that he is much, much older in his life, and that's a whole nother conversation about his own economic instability and things that have happened to him. But I have seen him really struggle in this phase of life with connectivity to the VA, connectivity to services, stability, trying to maintain, a residence that he can afford and stuff. And it's been a really awkward moment for me as a child trying to take care of a parent. And, it's almost like a teenager relationship type of a thing. But there's so many times that he references a veteran helping a veteran
Mhm.
where I can't really talk to him in certain matters but he is finding solace and support with another veteran. So, what is the dynamic, and how do you guys use that concept to further support what you're doing?
Well, it comes down to shared experiences, right?
Mhm.
So we have peer support specialists at every single one of our villages. They're 24/7 that are veterans and first responders, and they have those shared experiences.
Okay.
Unfortunately, for your father's generation, all of our veterans obviously served faithfully and defended our country, but our Vietnam War, our veterans really got they got the raw end of the stick there.
Mhm.
When they came back, I don't have to tell you, what occurred, and how they were looked upon and how they
Yeah.
were treated. So that really tarnished that trust and that relationship with the
Mhm.
federal government to where a lot of them don't want to avail themselves of the
Yeah.
VA because of what occurred.
Yeah.
So again, we try to act as that independent arbiter and that advocate to say,
Mhm.
listen, we know you're not happy with what occurred, and we know
Right.
you're not happy with the VA, but let us do this on your behalf.
Mhm.
You are owed this for
Mhm.
what you signed up to do and
Yeah.
what you've done to protect our country. So it's really just trying to bridge that gap. But in terms of shared experiences, that's it. You and I would never be able to
Yeah.
understand or relate to what your father encountered. Only
Mhm.
someone that encountered the same thing would
Right.
able to do, right? So providing that platform is something that we do to make sure that they can do so in a safe space.
Mhm.
People that are trained in de-escalation and how to work through when things get very emotional and heavy,
Mhm.
to guide those conversations towards a therapeutic and a positive path.
Mhm. So, how can our listeners help you guys as an organization or help the community that you're in? What would be something that you would want to challenge our listeners with?
Well, go to t2t.org, take a look at everything we're doing, and donate $11 a month. We have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of donors that donate $11 a month to our foundation. As I said, all of our financials are available online. 93
Mhm.
cents of every dollar goes away. You see where your donations
Mhm.
go. You see how rapidly we work. And, the more we're able to generate, the more good we're able to do. It's a binary one-to-one. And for those that want to donate in a different way, we have thousands and thousands of volunteers. Please come get involved.
Mhm.
You'll be able to see where we're building our veterans villages. Come and get involved. Christmas cookies, Thanksgiving turkeys, quilts, board games, books. Come and just spend some time, right?
Mhm.
That is really the qualitative that makes a house a home. We provide houses and we provide a wrap around comprehensive services, but that community engagement is what makes it a home.
Gavin, thank you so much for taking the time. Godspeed to you guys as you just keep building, 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 and really meeting the lives of our veterans where they need it. And this comprehensive services that you guys are doing, we just send you guys out there to make sure that we are fully supporting our veterans. So thank you to you and your team. It's been a pleasure to have you here. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Katie. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to ChangeMakers with Katie Goar. To find out more about Katie, go to quadel.com. That's QUADEL.com. This has been a production of Forbes Books Radio.